far as productivity or as far as success rate on projects and whatnot. Because again, whether we have more government or less government, we still have the same government in that the elected officials who are there are looking for the most part to do things that will protect their political interests or their political careers. So you're pretty much cutting off the tail of some animal that obviously is going to grow it back anyway. You cut off the tail and you don't do anything to it. You throw a Band-Aid on it or something. What I would like to see would be more consistency in terms of, projects and circumstances that are going to be beneficial to the populace, and that the people who are involved in those and the managers of those situations are given more leeway that's less bent on protecting a paycheck for some politician, right, as opposed to protecting the success of those projects. Because even when I hear people say, I'm willing to pay more taxes to make sure things are done correctly, or that things are that schools, for example, have enough funding to do the things they need, but then we're right back to the people part of it, which is you can have as much money as you want, but if things aren't being done, then you're still not going to get anything out of it. So I would err on the side of I would like a more efficient government, whether it be less or more government than anything else. That would be that would be the thing that we could benefit from.
Yeah, I think that is true. One of the biggest things that you hear about, especially where it relates to schools, oftentimes the superintendents, those are the people that are supposed to be making a lot of the decisions with the school districts that they are in charge of. And oftentimes they're the ones that have no financial background at all, so they're trying to figure out how to dole out where this money is going to go, and oftentimes that doesn't work. What is it that is said? If you want to be successful, you should. If there's an area where you're not strong, surround yourself with the people who are strong in those areas so that you can learn, and then everything, as you're going back to what you said, will be much more efficient. Right. And I think there's a lack of, I'm somebody who doesn't mind constructive criticism. I'm somebody that doesn't mind asking for somebody to lend a hand when I need it. And I think oftentimes there's a fear that if you cross the party lines to ask for help, then you're going to be looked at negatively, and then there's so many other things that come into play. And ultimately, you look at it. Sometimes you can see the difference. The difference is sometimes just so stark. If you drive in certain neighborhoods, and on one side of the street, you'll see the neighborhood's a little bit more affluent, higher household incomes with a particular zip code, and then just on the other side of the street, you'll see the houses are a lot more dilapidated. The schools don't seem to have what they need, and there's something missing. Whether it's more or less, it's something missing. The communication and the desire to really get things done.
Well, and the thing about education, I think a lot of people don't want to face is a lot of time it isn't just about money. A lot of time it has to do with the steadily moving target that that politicians place on them, politicians as well as the constituency themselves. Right. Because education is one of those things where you have every person who doesn't know anything but believes they know everything. And so it's difficult for those individuals who are tasked with guiding the ship, should we say. It's difficult for them to be able to find what they need to do and be able to follow a certain path for the amount of time that it takes to see it through, because they're constantly being thrown back and forth to change based on the fact that, again, all of their efforts are being governed and guided by political standards that are constantly shifting and changing. And then, like you said, when you have so much emphasis on party lines and what party are you and what you stand for and all this, these ambiguous terms don't translate into performance. They only translate into votes. It's like I can't live my life on family values. What the hell does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and with education, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, we need a better education, a better quality education. What the hell does that even mean? Because again, every learner, for example, doesn't learn the same way as any other. I mean, you may be visual, I may be auditory, or I may need examples, or I may not excel at math, but I may be tremendous at English. And those things are things that the average lay person is not going to take into account when they're making their assessments of what these people do. I think it's a difficult no-win type of situation, and I would love to see a way that we could, really accurately improve some things.
Yeah. Oftentimes it's the, I went to.
You are now listening to Microphone Masters.
No, yeah, we can have it or whatever. Recently, I went to the school for my son's school, and so they have this program where they're trying to get more fathers involved in school, and I see through it as a way because they probably don't have funding, so they're trying to do whatever they can to get more to get just more community, to rally the community around school and be able to support both by being there and seeing the kids and seeing what it's like. So maybe that can influence votes down the road, or maybe just maybe it is for all the best purposes in the world.
Well, I was going to say, because you got to remember that a lot of the time, one of the things that works against the teacher in the classroom is if the parents aren't backing up what they're saying.
Exactly.
Or, if there's no support system at home, or if there's no foundation for what those kids do, it's going to be extremely difficult for that teacher to really break through with that particular student.
You know what happens? It's a lot of times, because I know what you're like with your kids, and I think you know what I'm like with my kids. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting when I'm sitting here, and before we started this episode, I was telling you about how I'm having my son read, my youngest son, my 6-year-old, read to me 15-20 minutes a night.
Right.
And I know I can put money on it that the majority of the parents in this classroom are not doing that. And that's the saddest thing, because all it takes in just 5 days, I've seen a big difference in his reading. Whereas if I wasn't doing that and I was counting on the teacher to do all that, then I'm setting him up for failure.
And not only that, you're setting the teacher up for a situation that it makes it that much harder to accomplish what they have to do. And when you think about the fact that funding keeps dropping, yet the classes keep getting larger, which makes it more difficult. And that's the thing is, I think in somewhere in our generations, we've lost the concept that the majority of your learning process begins at your house with your parents or with your brothers and sisters or whatever the case may be. We've gotten to this concept that school is where everything happens. You know what? I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to just send you to school and you're going to get it. And unfortunately, and the worst part is, a lot of these teachers aren't equipped to do that no matter what. Yeah. And for what it's worth, they have enough trouble with the kids who they do know are getting, are being forced to do a little more, at home to prepare. Because, my kids, we make them spend that time, after school. After they finish their homework, they have time they have to spend. On the weekends, they have time that they have to spend, working on different enrichment projects or whatever to improve reading or math or whatever the case may be. So I imagine that some of them are a little more difficult for the teachers because they sitting there like, look, cuz, I already got this stuff. We wasted my time right now, so...
Yeah, and then last thing on this, it's interesting because you probably see this. From where you work, even there aren't a lot of male teachers. No, so that male presence can have a profound effect, and it's interesting because I used to substitute teach for a while, and when I would walk into the classroom, the kids would always, it's a big black dude. Yeah. And it's a man, and he's black, and he's big. Yeah. Oh snap! What's this dude gonna talk? They're transfixed, so it can make a difference. So we're gonna get into a couple joints, and we're gonna revisit this, especially with this being the time of the year. You can lift your finger up, and you can smell. You can the winds they are changing. So we're gonna get into a couple joints. Craig G featuring Styles P called Heaven and Hell. Razzcast called Sushi. And Teray called Getting Biz. So Craig G, Razzcast, Teray. You listen to the Microphone Masters radio show on DUBCNN.com.
Yes, sir.
As clear as the air. You learn to walk and talk. Hey, you make your own heaven and hell. Right here.
This ain't gangster with bling rap. This is for the soldiers in the street that cock that thing back. Girls stress them out for a pair of Gucci slingbacks. People eating lovely, they just got a chicken wing pack. Might as well just bring that. Gun bust and stick you up quick, that's their religion. Obama poster, but ain't too concerned with politicians. They live by a code, if they see it, then they grab it. Like wolves or National Geographic, or like magic. Property carnivores, they don't honor this, so why the would they honor yours? Kicking down your doors, a home invasion, and not the album from Ice-T. Study on that UPS guy, he look shiesty. Better click the double bolt. Yeah, you mind your business, but to still have a burner at your head, like what's the trouble for? Tied up, huddle close, stuck tape, muzzle throat. Then they hit your neighbor, yeah, they going for a double dose.
Into this world
are now listening to Microphone Masters.
Get rough, who can you trust? If they ain't drunk or high, then they on dust. Your mama on welfare, the check ain't enough. Now you out hustling, expecting the cuffs. Everybody's depressed, chained up on the bus. No tears, but a stern face. Cups of new sellers, sunburned base. Everybody's a G, then they turn states. You can say they real, but they ain't real. You can see the true colors when the paint peels. Yeah, it make me wanna holler, yeah, faint still. Around demons, but I wanna be a saint still. Heaven and hell, here on earth. So I wanna get my soul right, feel my worth. Let it Dutch in the bag, so I can feel my church. Looking for peace, yeah, feel my search. What?
Born into this world, oh baby, your mind is clear as the air.
Real clear, real clear, real clear.
You learn to walk and talk. Hey. Make your own heaven and hell right here on.
Watching up at your job, you see Jimmy is stressed. Caught with his wife's cousin and she packed up and left. Then he gotta notice about layoffs on his day off. Aerosol can a whole gig, just a spray off. Went to work thinking it's another day as usual. Now you're ducking 45 slugs at your cubicle. And even though Jimmy ain't have beef with you, he's firing at random on anyone in his view. Load another cartridge, storms his boss office. Barricade the door, he wanna make his kids orphans. That's what he had in mind, forgot about accounting. His last check was short, now his landlord he doubts him. Fires through the door, hops a chair through the broken glass. See the dude that cuts his check. First thought, smoke his ass. You didn't get hit, and you're happy that your life cleared. Now you know that it's heaven and hell right here.
Born into this world, oh baby,
You are now listening to Microphone Masters.
Real clear, real clear.
You learn to walk and talk. You make your own heaven and hell right here on earth.
寿司は良いです。
Yeah, it's time. Come here, listen, get a bar, nigga. I chop the head off you dicks like a bar mitzvah. Protect your neck, clown, get brass turtleneck sweaters. Even Marie Antoinette had a circus right before they behead her. Duh, what I'm saying is this, it's 25 drops to 0 off the A-list. Fever Las Vegas, hot go-go dances in cages. Live on stages Saturday night, Jason Sudeikis. Take your bitch, now ain't crying for his pussycat. The live kittens through your window, you can have your pussy back. Pin words in the prison shanks. Where the term mightier than a sword originates. It ain't where you're from, it's wherever you use your own star. Beef just dry snitching on Black TV and Wall Star.
This is Microphone Masters with JLR and Blaze Rock on DUBCNN.
With the vanilla room, call a nigga Paladin. A poly against the oligarchy on a mission. Composition start anarchy. I son y'all niggas like the man Barkley. Screaming your money or your life is a grand larceny. Cough up the parsley, cough to the dark knee. With the Benz car key, it's year round Shark Week.
私の顔模様のぶっかけ。私はそれが生の好き。
Hey yo, come here, listen, get a bar, nigga. In the streets locked up, get a bar, nigga. Rich or poor, give a fuck who you are, nigga. Sushi, the definition of raw spitter. Yeah, come on, listen, get a bar, nigga. In the dorms on the block, drinking more liquor. Black or white, give a fuck who you are, nigga. Sushi, the definition of raw spitter. Pop out the house like Oscar the Grouch. Where I'm from, they C-walk, stay chalking you out. Where I'm from, they B-walk, never walking it out. Shit don't change, that's the stuff that get lost in the couch. I hide dragons, convince tigers to crouch. Pisces bring the birds in, then we migrated south. White foam round the corners, your dehydrated mouth. Like Al Jolson, of Al Pacino, Al-Qaeda. How we sure but darker, call it an all-nighter. Y'all pinatas knock the stuffing out of all your foul biters. I'm Spider-Man, stick the bitches walls for real though. You transvestite man, big by a radioactive dildo. That's what they call an ill rap these days. I'm cancer, herpes, Satan in the clap these days. Live by the California code. Crips in the whip, somebody call it a California roll. Hey yo, come here, listen, get a bar, nigga. In the streets locked up, get a bar, nigga. Rich or poor, give a fuck who you are, nigga. Sushi, the definition of